see a couple different videos. So if you watch, I got a video of a bay horse that I'm doing this with, and we're talking about proper way of lunging and what we get out of when we do lunge a horse. And so what I'm looking for when I lunge a horse is I'm looking for a horse that is biomechanically correct. They're in self-carriage. What does that mean? Self-carriage is a horse that's carrying themselves without us hindering them or being on their back. So how do we do that? We can guide her to do that. So this horse here had a real big rearing problem if you've watched some of the videos with her. And at one point prior to the owners that had her now, she was jumped, I believe, using draw reins, which is really hard on them. And so she's a forward moving horse, forward thinking horse, but she didn't think she could go anywhere except for up. So she's also a super sensitive horse and insanely athletic horse. So I'm gonna start off with her just kind of working with the flag a little bit. I'm gonna let you watch this for a bit, and then I'll go into some other things with her to show you kind of what I'm looking for as an end result. So now I didn't ask for her to go into this trot. She kind of went into that on her own. And that trot is a very nervous, tense trot. So I don't want her to be trotting like that. I want her to be relaxed in the trot. Not so sensitive. So what I'm looking for when I'm doing this is I'm looking for her to start to drop the head, because she's firing those big back muscles right now. So I want her to drop the head. And I want to show you 3 different horses and see the progress on all 3. So I'm waiting for that head to come down, even if it's just for a second. You'll notice my hand position on the lead line. It's open because I want her to not pull on me or drop in on me. So as soon as that head came down about an inch, I immediately want to bring her back in so she starts to understand that that's a good thing that I'm looking for. So that took about 2 minutes to do, 2-3 minutes to do, to get that head to drop down. Now I'm going to give her a little bit of a break for about that same time. I kind of have a rule of thumb is that if it takes them a few seconds or a few minutes or whatever it is, we give them that time. So I was blocking the view of her, but she just licked and chewed really well. So that's a really good thing, especially with a horse like her that she's so, her and the little bay horse that I just videoed, you can see that they're both reactionary horses. She's like always got to know what's going on. The head's always up and looking, and I'm looking for her to be relaxed, to kind of feel that relaxation through her body and enable herself to open up through the rib cage, through the shoulders, through the throat latch, be able to just be okay. So I'm also going to give her some love so that you can see how nervous she is with the flag. And so I might start with the flag and go back to just having her be okay with indirect pressure. Remember, indirect pressure is pressure that's going around the horse, not going directly to the horse. Might ask her to follow me a step. Go back to my indirect pressure. Waiting for a change, waiting for that head to go down. Waiting for a lick and chew. So you see, I stopped that, and she was starting to come into me, drop her head, and then she said, wait a second, it stopped. Now I got to pay attention to that. So the head came down. Good, so you'll see right there, I just kind of helped a little bit, not with a lot of pressure, just barely asked her to come down. I'll come a little closer to the camera so you can see that. So, what I'm looking for is when I wave this, I want her, and a lot of horses naturally will do this, but when I wave this, I want her to start to think that we relax. And the second she drops her head, then I'll release, both on my hand pressure and my flag pressure. So then if I go to here, head goes up, I want her to immediately know that the head's going to come down. We want her to relax and not be worried. Good girl. So if you find that you have a horse that you're trying to get them used to indirect pressure, especially around their head, She also had a major issue with her right ear. You couldn't touch her right ear. Now I can touch that right ear, but like it was really hard to put a halter or bridle on her, touch her ear. So you can see though how sensitive she is to looking at things. We finally get this lick and chew. So if you have a horse that's just not responding to that, instead of keep doing it and not getting it and expecting a different result, change it up a little bit. So like that's why I went to just putting the weight of my arm, just the weight of my arm on this lead line, going over the top of her until she wants to drop that head. Good girl. Good girl. I want her to start thinking, especially because this horse can rear, buddy, and I want her to start thinking that when she feels any pressure, the head goes down and gets relaxed, not popping up. So come back to here. Good girl. And you can see right there, she got a little scoochy, so they're doing some construction down there. And these are the things that I'm working on with her, because she's not really a spooky horse. She's just hyper aware of everything that's going on. So now I'm going to try it and just go, okay, if I do this, is the head going to come down? So I'll ask for it to come down. Good. This is also a horse that on cross ties couldn't stand on cross ties initially by herself because she would rear on the cross ties, stand straight up. And then we got to the point where then she could be on cross ties, and then if you left her, she would get nervous and she would rear without you there. And so we've solved all that now where she can stand on cross ties by herself. But a lot of it is a self-confidence thing for her. You notice how close she got to me. Good girl. So I'm going to go back to this now. Will that head go down on its own? Come in, help her. Good girl. Come in, help her. Good girl. Come in. Good girl. Anytime anything comes above her head or next to her, I don't want her to brace. I want her to think head down. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. So now I'm going to change back. I'm going to go back to our exercise of walking around me relaxed. Not even trotting yet, just walking around me relaxed. All goes back to that head carriage. When I get on this horse now and ride her, this is how she rides. So the head's getting more relaxed. I like that. There, we got a nice lick and chew there. So these horses are slated to be some good, nice top-level eventers, and we want to make sure that we build that connection with them and that relationship, especially horses that go cross-country, because we know the dangers of the fences, and we want to make sure that they're as balanced as possible and have as good a relationship with their riders and owners as possible. But yet we want them to be self-sufficient, and we want them to be confident that if they need to help out when they need to, they can. So now I'm just going to ask her to change direction. See how the head popped up a bit? So I'm just going to go off this way now. So I didn't ask for that trot. She went into that trot on her own, so I'm going to just redirect her brain. So I'm going to go for the redirection of the brain before I go for the redirection of the feet. So she's still trotting. redirection of the brain, trotting, redirection of the brain, until she walks. So now I'm going to ask her to pick up this trot on this side. I want her to shift gears into the trot as gentle as possible. Good, so you see that the head didn't really change that much, it stayed down there. So I want her to really stay in this trot and stretch over her back, because this is a horse that really had a difficult time staying in each speed in the gait. So I'm just guiding her. Remember, the biggest difference between a horseman or horsewoman and a trainer is that the horseman or horsewoman out there is understanding what the horse needs for us to coach them. So they tell us what they need and how they learn, and then we guide them and coach them based on the knowledge that we're looking for, because what we're asking for our horses to do under saddle is something that's not natural for them. The way that we're asking them to use their bodies is not natural for what they were designed to do, in the sense of they are grazing creatures that just need to move forward typically, and if they're going to go backwards, it's going to be to turn around and get away from something, and they don't care about balance in their body if they're doing a small circle in the canter, because they're probably not going to be doing that unless they're trying to get away from a predator. Good. So see that head comes down? See how nice that downward transition was to walk? Good girl. So that is what we're looking for. So remember this. It's our job to listen to them through feel and understanding, and it's our job to then figure out how they learn the best and coach them and guide them through our pressure, always utilizing less pressure than we think it's going to take to get the job done. And then if we need to bring that pressure up until we see a change, then we do that. But we do it methodically based on what the horse is telling us. Each horse is not the same when it's a cookie cutter training thing. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching people to understand the individual horse that you have, because every horse that I work with, I work with anywhere from 8 to 12 horses in a day, and each one of those horses that I get the opportunity to put my hands on is to understand them, and then the training method, the coaching method is going to be tailored to how that horse learns. It's all the same tools, but it's how we apply those tools. So now I'm going to go back the same way. So see how she moved out on her track. So I'm looking for that relaxation in the body. I'm going to ask for the transition to the trot with the body staying the same and a nice seamless transition to trot. So I'd rather take the time to get the trot the way I want it to go than to have her just pop up. So you can see now, so the head's up, you can see, and we talk about this in the other videos about small circles. There is no circle that's good for your horse that's an unbalanced circle. Doesn't matter the size. So if your horse is running around like a motorcycle leaning to go around a corner, that's not good for your horse's collateral ligaments or any other ligament or joint or tendon that's on their body. We want them to be in balance. So I'm trying to help her find that balance of being biomechanically correct. So I want to see a little bit of that left eye, not too much of it. I want the shoulders tracking forward. I want her to open up through the rib cage. Take some breaths. So see, she's trying to figure this out right now and trying to find out her own balance. And her own balance is going to help us then to get her to sit back on her hind and be able to utilize herself correctly. Good girl. So she starts to drop that head down and stretch over her back. So now we're going to go off the other direction. Such a good girl. Yes, you are. You are such a good girl. She is really a sweetheart and she loves people. Good girl. So now I'm going to ask her to go off this way. So I'm going to put my hand out here, ask her to rotate the shoulders over so she stays on her own track. And now I'm going to ask to pick up the trot. I would rather take my time to get this trot the way I want it to and the transition good, so she's in balance when she goes into that trot, then she's not. So I'm going to think trot, ask her to go into that. So the head came up a little bit on this side, so we're going to work through that. So I want her to slow down and find her balance. You notice I do not hold my lead line tight at all. I'm just resting it between my thumb and my first finger because I want her to be in self-carriage. Good, that head comes down. I'm going to reward her for that. So it's so important when we work with our horses is to get this feel down. I can't stress that enough. So as we go through this process, you know, keep your eyes out for these horses. I'm doing a whole story on their journey and start to finish with them as they're coming back from being off for a lot of time or different careers. The next horse I'm going to be working with just came off the racetrack. This one here was off for a while. You know, and was the previous owners were really doing things that were not helping her situation and finding her own balance. So when we talk about gadgets and things like that, is that there's a lot of aids out there that are good. They're an aid, but the aid is an aid being a spurs or side reins or any of those things. Is draw reins I'm not a fan of because they don't work for the horse to release. Can't be fast enough because it's leather on metal and it just can't release fast enough, and then you're breaking the horse and pulling them downwards and backwards. I've only seen bad things with draw reins when it comes to the horses breaking at C2, C3, not breaking at the pole. Makes them, gives them a false frame, and you lose the connection aspect of your horse, and then they get vacant behind the vertical on you if used incorrectly. So it's so important that we teach our horses how to actually use their own body, and then they're going to give us so much more.